When the world went into lockdown, most of us felt safe behind closed doors. Schools were silent, hotels were empty, streets deserted. But safety was an illusion in the shadows of forgotten classrooms, behind closet doors in hotel rooms, and inside lockers no one checked. Something sinister was waiting. These aren't urban legends, they're true. They're terrifying. And they happened when the world was supposed to be standing still. This is 3 true lockdown horror stories. And, trust me, you'll never feel the same way about silence again. When I was 16 and in my junior year of high school, I had a pretty typical schedule, 9 periods a day with 5th period being lunch. Right after lunch, I had astronomy. Now, what made that class interesting wasn't the subject matter. It was the location. My astronomy class was held in one of only 2 basement classrooms in our school. Our high school was massive, with 3 floors, but even that wasn't enough to fit all the classes. So the school built 2 extra classrooms. Down in what used to be the janitor's storage area, they remodeled it to make it look like a normal hallway, but it still had this weird, creepy vibe when no one else was around. And here's the kicker. There were no intercoms or loudspeakers down there, so if something happened, we couldn't hear it unless someone came down to tell us. People nicknamed that part of the school the chamber. Despite how creepy it felt, everyone low-key wanted classes down there because it was air-conditioned, the classes were usually easier, and, bonus, it had its own bathroom. So this one day, we were having a quiz in astronomy. I usually finished early in that class because, honestly, it wasn't hard for me. When I was done, I texted my buddy JJ, he was in the other basement classroom, and asked if he wanted to meet up in the bathroom to kill some time. He was down, so I walked out, into the hallway and headed there. A minute later, JJ walked in and we just started joking around. Then JJ checks his phone and says he just got a text saying the school's on lockdown. We both look at each other and kind of smirk. Our teachers had no idea we'd left, and since there were no announcements in the basement, we figured this was our chance to sneak around the school while it was totally empty. We thought it'd be fun. Worst case scenario, we'd just say we didn't hear the announcement. So we opened the door to the main floor, but as soon as we did, we noticed something off. All the lights in the hallway were off. The entire floor was pitch black, except for a little natural light coming in from the front lobby windows. That was strange. Usually during lockdown drills, they left the lights on. That's when we started getting uneasy. JJ took a few steps into the hallway, and I followed right behind him. Then he stopped suddenly and said, "Who's that?" I looked, and emerging from the shadows was a man. At first, we couldn't tell if he was a teacher or something, but as he got closer, it was clear he wasn't staff. He looked more like a homeless guy. Dirty clothes, messy hair, that kind of thing. "All right, let's go," I whispered to JJ. We turned around and rushed back to the basement. Whoever that guy was, he definitely saw us. Both basement classroom doors were now closed and locked, so to avoid drawing attention, we ducked back into the bathroom. I flipped the light off and we hid in the corner stall. It was dead silent. No ventilation, no humming lights, just the drip of a sink and our breathing. Then, we heard the bathroom door creak open. Light from the hallway spilled in for just a second before it closed again, throwing us back into darkness. We both tried to stay as still and quiet as possible. We could hear the person's footsteps coming closer to the stalls. Then they stopped, and suddenly we heard heavy breathing. It was labored, like he'd been running or was just off. JJ leaned in and whispered, "We have to crawl out through the other stalls." Even though he whispered, it felt like it echoed in the silence. And just like that, the breathing stopped. Then came the sound of someone pressing on our stall door. Slow and deliberate. I whispered back, "Go. Go now." We both dropped down and crawled under to the next stall, then the next, until we were on the other side of the bathroom. As we scrambled to our feet, the guy started slamming on the stall door we had just left. We threw the bathroom door open, and as light filled the room, we saw him. It was the same man from upstairs, just standing in the corner, staring at us. We ran straight to JJ's classroom and started pounding on the door. The teacher let us in instantly, and JJ was already telling him everything. As the teacher locked the door behind us, JJ mentioned that he saw a gun sticking out of the guy's pocket. That part shocked me. I hadn't noticed a weapon, but if JJ saw it, I wasn't about to doubt him. Normally in high school, if something like this happened, the other students would be cracking up or calling us dumb. But everyone was dead serious. You could see it in their faces, they were scared. Then there was a loud bang at the classroom door. Everyone jumped. A couple of girls even screamed. JJ, the teacher, and I looked over and saw the man staring through the little window in the door, trying the handle. After a few seconds, he gave up and walked back down the hallway, disappearing into the darkness. We sat in that classroom for over an hour in silence. The teacher kept asking us questions about what happened, shaking his head in disbelief every time we answered. Eventually, a call came through telling the teacher we could evacuate. We all walked single file up the stairs and outside, where police were waiting. JJ and I gave our statements as best we could. One officer patted me on the back and told us we could go home. After that day, the school installed cameras all over and spent a ton on beefing up security. The story never made it to the news, and we never found out who that guy was or what happened to him. To this day, I believe he would have killed us if we hadn't escaped that bathroom. I'm a retired cop from New Jersey, spent 20 years on the force. In all that time, the worst call I ever got was to respond to a school lockdown at a nearby middle school. I won't say the name for legal reasons. It was one of those stormy, gloomy days, the kind where you just know something's off. I was in my patrol car when dispatch called me to head over to the school. Apparently, someone had seen a suspicious man get out of a white van behind the building and enter through the back near the boys' locker room. When I pulled into the lot, the white van was there, but empty. All the doors were locked, including the trunk. I made my way through the red door that opened into the hallway next to the locker rooms. The main lights in the school had been shut off, so the hallways were dark. I grabbed my flashlight and started navigating through. I made it to the lobby, and that's when a woman quietly stepped out of the front office. She whispered that the guy might be in the boys' locker room and could be armed. I radioed in for backup and was told more units were on the way. I headed back the way I came and found the door to the boys' locker room. No windows. Pitch black inside. The only sound was this low white noise from a vent overhead, but under that I could hear something else. Light tapping. Maybe scratching. Little dings on locker doors. I was supposed to announce myself as police protocol, but I hesitated. The vibe in that room was so tense it was like the air had weight. With my flashlight in one hand and my gun in the other, I moved through the locker room, trying to pinpoint where the noise was coming from. But every time I moved, the sound seemed to shift, always coming from the opposite side of the room. I was near the door that led to the bathroom when a locker somewhere slammed shut with a deafening clang. I jumped out of my skin. I followed the sound to the adjacent room, the football team's locker area. These lockers were much bigger. That's when I finally shouted, "Police!" Right after, I heard a muffled scream. "Help!" It was coming from one of the lockers. A kid was pounding. On the door, I felt sick. He was locked in there. I told him I'd be right back and ran outside to get help. That's when I noticed the van was gone. I hadn't taken the plate number. Still kick myself for that. I radioed in to be on the lookout for a white van and ran back inside, telling the school staff to end the day and send someone with keys to the locker room. They found the boy inside. He was 12. The man had held a knife to his back and tried to lead him out to the van, but the kid fought back and got cut on his arm. The guy stuffed him in a locker to hide him while he looked for another way out. A week later, police spotted the van in a 7-Eleven parking lot. The man was arrested and identified. To this day, that call still haunts me. If I'd hesitated a second longer, who knows what would have happened to that kid. I was staying at a Hampton Inn in New Jersey while visiting Rowan University, which I was thinking about attending. My family couldn't come, so I made the trip solo. After checking out the campus during the day, I grabbed some dinner nearby and headed back to my room around 8 p.m. My plan was simple: chill for the night and go back to campus the next morning. But around 9, a weird alarm started blaring in my room. A bright white light began flashing from a box on the ceiling corner, and a voice started looping over the speaker. All Hampton Inn guests, please remain in your rooms. This is a lockdown. I didn't even know hotels had lockdown systems. I actually thought it was kind of interesting, until the alarm kept going. The sound eventually stopped, but the light kept flashing every 20 seconds. Same voice repeating the message. I figured I'd just wait it out. I turned on the TV for some background noise, changed clothes, brushed my teeth, and got into bed. Tried to relax, but that light was making it hard to fall asleep. Just as I was thinking about calling the front desk to ask what was going on, the room phone rang. It was a woman from the front desk. Her voice was tense. "I need you to stay calm," she said. "I want you to get up and walk out of the room, now." That's not what I expected to hear. I asked her what was going on, and she said, "There's someone in the room with you. You need to leave immediately." My stomach dropped. I hung up and started looking around. First, I checked under the bed. Nothing. Then I opened the bathroom, empty. But then I noticed the closet by the bathroom. It was one of those sliding wood doors, and it was cracked open, barely. Through the gap, I saw a face. I froze. I stared for a second, not quite registering what I was seeing, until the door started sliding shut. That was all I needed. I bolted. The front desk staff showed me security footage later. About an hour before the alarm, a sketchy-looking man had been seen wandering the halls. He had some kind of stolen keycard and used it to enter my room. He'd been in there the whole time. The cops showed up and dragged him out in cuffs. He was short, probably in his 40s. As he passed by, he looked right at me like he knew me. I still can't believe he was just watching me that whole time from the closet for an hour.